best, simple and plain. To be the best, you have to win. That's why I play the game.
So it's evident that the Los Angeles Lakers are really struggling on the defensive side of things this season, and that's obviously heightened by the injury to Anthony Davis in recent times. I mean, we started the season running a two-big lineup with DeAndre Jordan and Anthony Davis because that's sort of what's worked for us in the past. I mean, in our championship season, we started with JaVale McGee alongside Anthony Davis, and then when JaVale McGee would have his rest, we'd bring on Dwight Howard, and that really, went a long way to us being a great ring protecting team and ultimately made us the best defensive team in basketball. But that just hasn't eventuated this season, and we're honestly one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and that was again evident in our last game against the Grizzlies, who just really tore us apart on the offensive end. I mean, they were pretty much getting whatever they wanted, and they're just a young team that has a lot of energy, and we just weren't able to match that essentially. And of course, in recent times, we've converted to our small ball lineup, running LeBron James at the center position, and LeBron's honestly had tremendous games at the center position on the offensive end, but I still think that it makes us struggle a lot on the defensive end because other opponents' bigs are just feasting on the offensive boards and the putbacks and really just getting what they want over the likes of the smaller players like Stanley Johnson and LeBron James. So I think moving forward, when you look at other teams in the West, especially, you have DeAndre Ayton. James Wiseman's going to come back for the Warriors, and they're looking like they're the best team in basketball already. You've also got Rudy Gobert at the Jazz, so I think, obviously Anthony Davis is going to come back, but we really need to match this team in height and defensive energy if we're going to have a chance to even compete with these teams moving forward. Then we look at our wing defenders. Obviously, we have Avery Bradley, who started the majority of games for us this season. He's obviously an elite defender and won't let you down on that end. We then look at Russell Westbrook, who can defend a little bit, but he's more of a player who's going to gamble in the passing lanes and look for steals, and that's come back to bite us a couple of times this season. Malik Monk, he's an okay defender, but he's more of an offensive-minded player who's, had that spark over the past 4 or 5 games for us. He's really going well on the, offensive end, but can he bring it every night on the defensive end, which is essentially going to go a long way to the Los Angeles Lakers competing for another NBA championship. So there's no doubt in my mind that we really need to get better on the defensive end especially, and obviously we're going to get better once Anthony Davis comes back into the rotation. But the question is, do we need to add something to our roster to really boost us on the defensive end? And that's why there's a lot of rumors circulating about the Lakers wanting to acquire a player like Jerami Grant, who's obviously, a defensive-minded player who can play in the small ball lineup at the center position, the power forward position, and maybe even the small forward position. And he's obviously a player that, has the defensive abilities to guard the opponent's best team player, and that's something we just haven't had all year. I mean, LeBron can still defend, but obviously it likes to take a bit of a rest on those sides of things and really take over the offense for us. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers front office do moving forward. But in terms of Jerami Grant, he's really improved over the last couple of years. He had that standout playoff performance in a Denver Nuggets uniform, which really highlighted, the quality of player he is, and he can do it on both ends as well. Not only can he defend at a high level, he's also able to knock down consistent jump shots. He's also great at driving to the rim and doing layups and stuff as well. So he's definitely, a player that the Lakers are going to look at heavily. It's just a matter of, do we actually know what our roster is capable of? We obviously haven't seen the likes of Kendrick Nunn, who was a massive pickup for us in the offseason, and to me was, our best pickup of the offseason, and we haven't even seen him alongside this Lakers roster. So what can he do for us on both sides of the floor? He's obviously, in my opinion, a defensive-minded player as well as being an offensive player who's has the ability to create his own shot off the dribble and is also, you know, capable of knocking down that 3-point shot. And do we have, you know, another player that can be our primary ball handler coming off the bench if we do trade, you know, Kendrick Nunn and THT? Because obviously THT is another ball handler that we could have used as opposed to Kendrick Nunn. But obviously if you do make this trade, THT has to be involved because he's probably our most valuable asset and he's a young asset as well. So it's going to look like we're going to have to package Kendrick Nunn and THT and possibly, you know, a first round pick down the track. And is it worth it to even make this move? Well, I think the Lakers definitely have to make something happen here because it just doesn't look good on the defensive side of things at the moment. And again, the Lakers can still try and finesse a couple of side pieces as well, try and get rid of the contracts of Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan, which is rumored that the Lakers have already sort of looked into as well. So if we can free up a couple of roster spots and make this trade, we then have, you know, a quality starting player in Jerami Grant who can take on those defensive matchups and also be a solid two-way player for us as well. And then we can maybe bring in some secondary or primary ball handlers to come off the bench or even start for us alongside our big three if we are indeed able to get rid of the contracts of Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan. But let's just say hypothetically that the Lakers do make this trade for Jerami Grant. You then have a starting lineup, in my opinion, of Russell Westbrook at the point guard, obviously Malik Monk at the 2 guard, LeBron James at the small forward, Jerami Grant at the power forward, or vice versa. And then obviously AD, if he's willing to, which he should, because it's better for our team to start at the 5. And that's a pretty good defensive team on paper. It's just a matter of our guys going to buy in on that end, because it's definitely looking like that we aren't at the moment. And then obviously in turn it's going to make us a better offensive team with Jerami Grant, because obviously Jerami Grant has a lot of offensive capabilities on the other end as well. So in my opinion, I think the Lakers should go after this trade because I definitely think it makes us a better team. It's just a matter of, if we do this trade, do we have enough primary ball handlers on our team? If we get rid of THT and Kendrick Nunn, do we need to look to the buyout market to bring new ball handlers in? Because honestly, it makes our bench pretty thin. But I think you'll find if we do pull the trigger on this trade, you'll see LeBron James and Russell Westbrook split their minutes, so at least one of those guys are out on the floor just to provide us with that, you know, that crucial playmaking that we need to set, you know, a lot of our plays up on the offensive end. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers do. I'm all on board for the Jerami Grant trade, but I'm also excited for guys like Anthony Davis and Kendrick Nunn to come back, so we actually have a complete roster, so we actually can see, you know, what we have. We just haven't seen that this season. But I definitely think that the Lakers should make a trade for a player like Jerami Grant just to help us out on the defensive end. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more Laker videos just like this one. But for now, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.